Welcome to the JoyWorks Show, the podcast that goes beyond the surface of business right to the heart, to explore the real joy and the stories behind success, not just the moments of celebration, but the challenges that pave the way for them. Hi, I'm Diane, and on this podcast we know that joy isn't about the good times. Often the greatest joy comes right after the greatest challenge. Together we will explore how joy shows up in unexpected places. Ready to discover some joy? Let's go. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the JoyWorks Show with me, Diane. Today is actually the first official episode of the JoyWorks Show, and it's also my first solo episode of the JoyWorks Show. And the reason I wanted to start with a solo episode was just to give a little bit background to how I got here, to why it's called the JoyWorks Show, to what joy is all about to me, and a little bit of background to everything that came before this. And I think it's really important to share this because I am asking all of my guests to come on and share what joy is all about them, for them, so it's only fair that I start. So, welcome to today's show. And we're diving headfirst into a topic that, quite frankly, is at the centre of everything I do. It has been the centre of everything I did since I launched my business in September 2023. Actually, when I look back throughout my career, I led with joy. I led from my heart. I was passionate about my results within my career. I was passionate about the teams that I built. And reflectively, I see how much joy had an impact on my career. And we are talking about joy in business, in life, in the messy middle of it all, and why it's not just the cherry on top. It is the whole sundae of life is where I see joy. Now, if you're part of my community, the Joy Work Club, and you have been in my world a little bit longer than just this podcast, you already know that this is the drum I beat. But today I'm pulling back the curtain a little bit and getting a little bit more personal about what joy is. I want to share my joy, why joy is the heartbeat of my work, why I think it should be the heartbeat of yours, and how this podcast and its very name ties into that. So let me begin by talking a little bit about the Joy Work Club. For those of you who do not know what the Joy Work Club is, the Joy Work Club is a community that I started last November 2023. And I started a community because I was being told so much about building a community for your business, but the way I was being told how to build it never quite sat well for me. I didn't want it just to be another funnel for my business. I didn't want it to be just another way to get leads. Of course, I wanted to make connections. Of course, I wanted to network. Of course, I wanted to get myself out there, but I wanted something with a little bit more meaning behind it. I truly believe the strength in business and the strength, whether you're online, offline, or anything in between, is the relationships that you can build. And ultimately, we are wanting more authenticity more than ever in 2024, going into 2025, than we've ever needed before. So I was looking at all these online spaces and I never truly felt that I fit. I didn't find the place where I could be myself, that I could show up as myself. I didn't find my tribe. I'm pleased to say I've now found a couple of other places outside of the Joy Work Club that I feel good in. I'm not the only one that creates wonderful spaces. But the reason I started the Joy Work Club is I was into a month or so into my business and I realised that as much as I am an introvert, as much as I am a lone wolf and I am happy in my own space and I am a self-motivator and all of those things in between, I was feeling lonely in my business. I realised that the teams that I'd been building over the years were part of my passion, were part of my joy. And ultimately, I wanted to go and find that team before my business was ready for me to have a team. So I created an online space to show up as all that I am. I am an empath. I am a woman. I believe that emotions can fuel us and make us better, and we can learn from our emotions and our softer feminine sides. But I'm also data driven and sales loving and ambitious and direct. Those of you who are my clients or are in my world will know that tough love and accountability are my coaching style. You could say that I'm woo with a side of figures and a designer handbag. That's kind of maybe my vibe. But I wanted to find my community. I wanted to find my tribe. I wanted support to learn the things that I didn't know. Hell, I didn't even know the things I didn't know and still don't. And I wanted to find a community that would give me as much of that as I could give to them. I wanted to meet people, and ultimately I wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone. I knew my comfort zone was staying in my lane, being in my home office and building my business that way. But I knew I had to challenge myself and get out of that comfort zone and push myself to meet people. I am not naturally social. I may be able to have the courage to have a podcast, go live, turn up on social media, build my business that way. But social is not one of my strengths, and I wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone and be able to do that. And the best way I know how to do that and to be social is to try and be of service, is to try and build relationships, is to try and be part of a community. And the best results that I've had in my life, not just in my business, is when I've been surrounded by good people. So that is why I started the Joy Work Club. Now, the Joy Work Club, where did that name come from? So it's time to go back to my first love books. There is a book called The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. If you haven't read it, I really suggest that you do. It is a great book. It's actually a novel about mothers and daughters, identity, and the ties that bind us through joy, love, and ultimately hardship. And what stood out for me wasn't just the beautiful storytelling, it was the idea that joy isn't just this fluffy, happy-go-lucky feeling. In the book, joy is survival. Joy is what these women create in spite of their challenges. And they meet for mahjong. And actually, the idea is that joy luck is what you create and not just given. So the idea of joy luck in the book is that they were in the hardest and darkest of times within a war in China, and they were on the poverty line and they were having to move, but the community continually came together. The community continually came together to have these parties, to have community, to laugh, to sing, to play games, to share in that hardship together and support each other and turn up for each other. And that was the idea of Joy Luck. That Joy Luck was something that they created for themselves. It was not just given. And ultimately, they were not in a joyous time in their lives. So that is why I wanted to call it the Joy Work Club. That joy luck is what you create, not just given, and so often in the darkest times. And if that doesn't hit home with you, I'm not sure if this is the podcast for you, because in business and in life, joy isn't always the easy choice. Joy is the courageous choice. When I started the Joy Work Club, I knew the name had to reflect that spirit. I knew that the idea that joy isn't just about the good times. It's about the grit, the tenacity, and the community that helps you find it again when it feels out of reach. There will be so many times in your own business journey that you will have felt that feeling of when things feel out of reach, when you feel like you want to give up, when you feel like things are so hard. And if you have the right support around you, if you have the right community or tribe behind you, you will find that that is the times when things can not get easier, but they're there to lift you up, to support you, to get you through that challenge and get you stronger on the other side and just continue your business for another day. That is why I wanted the Joy Work Club to be called the Joy Work Club. So now you might be thinking, okay, Diane, get it why it's called the Joy Work Club, but why joy? Let's talk about it in business. Because if you're rolling your eyes thinking, joy, Diane, really, I've got deadlines, invoices, to-do lists, My to-do list could rival War and Peace. I am done with social media content, doing all of the things, all of the time. But let me tell you, I totally understand where you come from. And please don't think, because I'm here talking about joy all the time, that I don't also feel these things too. I absolutely do. I feel them every single day. But joy isn't a luxury in business. It is a strategy. It is a mindset. It is a way for you to show up. And here's why. When you build a business that is rooted in joy, you're not just creating for the next quarter. You're creating something sustainable, something magnetic. When I talk about magnetic, you want to pull those dream clients, those wonderful customers that you dream of at 3 o'clock in the morning to you. You don't want to always be out looking for them. You want them to come to you, to find your shop front, to find your social media, to find your podcast, to find your book, to find your services, to meet at events. However you're meeting your clients or finding your clients, you want them to find you. Joy is what keeps you going when the spreadsheets are ugly, when the figures aren't adding up, when the leads and the sales aren't quite flowing like you would like them to. And it's what makes your customers and clients want to work with you and your team, want to stick around with you, want to tell people about you. The joy and the magnetism that you show through being in this joyful mindset, in this joyful space, and hopefully feeling the joy for your business is the reason that people will talk about you in rooms that you are not in. And that is the ultimate thing for me. If I know there's people talking about me in rooms that I am not in, and hopefully talking favourably about me, then I am winning, because they are my advocates. They're people that are showing up for me because of what I can do for them. And no, I'm not talking about toxic, everything's sunshine and rainbows kind of joy, pink fluffy unicorns, although I do kind of like all that joy too. I'm talking about joy that comes from doing the work that matters, from solving problems, building connections, creating those relationships and making an impact. Joy is what reminds you why you started this crazy ride in the first place. We didn't get into business thinking it was going to be easy. Well, I certainly didn't anyway. We got into business because we had a passion for something. We got into business because we thought there was a way that we could do something different. We got into business because we wanted freedom or an income or more in our lives. But we have to make sure that we have the joy and the passion to fill that up. And joy has to be at the heart of everything for when the things get tough. If we go back to the Joy Luck Club, they got together in the darkest of times. They got together and used joy as their way to make it to another day. You ultimately have to have that within your business. So what is my version of joy? Now here's where it gets personal. My version of joy might not look like yours, and that's the beauty of it. For me, joy isn't about constant happiness, because who is ever constantly happy? I hope I have joyful moments in every day. There might be a few I can think throughout my life that perhaps I struggled to see the joy in that day. But even when times were dark, even when those days felt difficult and that there was no way to recover for them, there was always that person that made you smile. There was always that hand that reached out to you, that warm drink that was passed to you. Whatever it was on that day, there's the tiniest little bit of joy, and that's the joy that I'm talking about. It's about resilience. It's about finding the light even when the room feels pitch black. Even when you can't see a way out, it's about finding that little glimmer of hope, that you can then make it to another day, that you can then do something that can move your business forward, that you can bring something into your life to create even more joy, even more impact, even more income, and get that business of your dreams, that life of your dreams that you keep telling everybody about. Some of the greatest joy in my life has come after the hardest challenges. And I truly believe that this is because I become grateful. I look for the joy. I want to create more joy in my life because I'm going through something that is a little bit darker. It's the moment when you look back at the mountain you just climbed and think, wow, I did that. When you're doing something within your business that is uncomfortable, that is icky, that you've been putting off, think of that feeling you feel at the end when you have done it. If you've been putting off going live on social media and then you do it, that rush of energy, that smile across your face, that feeling of accomplishment, it's the pride in the process that is your joy, not just the result. And it's why I weave joy into everything I do. It's why I go on about it so much into my coaching, into the Joy Work Club, and now into this podcast. Because I've seen what happens when business owners forget to make room for joy. I've seen what happens when business owners forget why they started in the first place. And I've seen when business owners try to build businesses that they're truly not passionate about. They burn out, they lose their spark, and eventually their businesses loses its soul. But when you make joy a priority, magic happens. You work smarter, you dream bigger, and you create something that feels alive and feels like yours, feels authentic. And trust me when I say, your audience can see. Your audience can see right through you. So do you want them to see right through you and see joy? Or do you want them to see something else? I know which one I am picking. So how does this podcast tie in with everything else? Well, think of it as an extension of the work that I've been doing for the last year specifically on talking about joy, and the work when I look back at my previous careers and I weave joy and passion into everything that I did. This podcast is a space to explore the many faces of joy in business, not just the pretty ones, not just the perfect ones, not just the perfectly positioned ones on Instagram. We'll talk about the tough stuff, the real stuff, and yeah, the joyful stuff, the fun stuff too, that makes it all worth it. I'll be bringing on guests who'll show and tell us their journeys. They'll share what lights them up, what inspires them, what got them to where they are, and what they'd love to see gone from the world forever. And through it all, we'll keep coming back to the idea that joy isn't the destination, it's how we get there. So before I wrap up the first solo episode, and indeed the first episode at all, I want to leave you with a question. What does joy look like in your business right now? Not someday, not in the perfect version of your life, but actually right now. Is it there? Does it show up? Do you show up in your joy? And if not, what would it take to bring it back? What is the joy in your life right now? I'd love for you to think about that and share your thoughts with me. You can find me in the Joy Work Club community or drop me a message on Instagram or any of the other platforms for that matter. And if you did enjoy today's episode, please hit the subscribe button and share it with someone who could use a little more joy in their work. It also helps me be found and seen and keep spreading my mission of joy. All of the details will be in the show notes. And before I go, there is a very special offer for listeners of this podcast to gain a free month in the Joy Work Members Club in December. Go to the link in the show notes and sign up for full access to all of the Joy Work Members Club for 1 month for free. Thank you for letting me share this first episode of the Joy Work Show. I really am just getting started. Here's to finding joy in the work, in the journey, and in the messy, beautiful middle of it all. Until next time, I've been Diane from the Joy Work Show, sending you all the joy I can. Go out and find it, and I'll see you in our next episode with a wonderful guest.